Hey guys, welcome to the Geek Talk. Today I want to talk about this weekend. We got tons and tons of footage featuring Battlefront 2. But what caught my eye the most was Rey and Darth Maul and how those Force users really translated well to gameplay mechanics and what they are and should be in the lore. First, I want to talk about Darth Maul and his in-game abilities. For Battlefront 2, unlike other Force users, Darth Maul can't reflect blaster fire. And I actually think this can function in the lore. Darth Maul is a very aggressive fighter, and though he can defend himself very well, he would much rather put the hurt on his opponent. He would much prefer smashing through his opponent rather than waiting them out. Of course, this is in place because of gameplay balancing. If Darth Maul could reflect blaster fire and do all the things that he can do in the game right now, he would be extremely overpowered, even though he's almost overpowered already within the gameplay right now in pre-alpha. This actually fits within the lore if you think about Darth Maul's mentality as a Sith assassin. So instead of reflecting blaster fire, he does a spin attack, which means he can just power right through you. So instead of like having a Darth Vader who will, stand in one place like a rock, like a big mountain, and just reflect all your blaster fire, he's going to hop and skip to you as quickly as possible. In the game, you can actually do that ability 3 times in a row, which really fits with the style of Darth Maul, that he's a very fast fighter, so him being able to move around as fast as he can to cover a lot of distance makes a lot of sense. It also makes sense in terms of saber staffs. Now, it doesn't really make sense that saber staffs will be used so much for blaster deflection. They're very cumbersome and not as dexterous as a single blade or maybe, 2 separate blades, but they really wouldn't logically work out too well for blaster deflection. So it does make a lot of sense for Maul just to push right through rather than stand his ground and just deflect blaster bolts left and right. Within an actual story, he should be able to deflect blaster fire, but in terms of this gameplay mechanic, I think it works really, really well. The next ability I want to talk about is his chokehold, which I think really works well right next to Vader, especially from the first EA Battlefront. We see that Vader can just force choke you, but then while he's doing it, he's actually disabled with all his other abilities. He can't really move that much, he can't use his lightsaber to kill other people, he's just focused on that one person in that force choke, which is that is the Vader mentality, is to, he's more patient than Darth Maul. With Maul, what he does is that he chokes you for a second and then pushes you back, which totally makes sense. Maul doesn't have time to sit down and just choke one person out. He needs to keep it moving. He has to keep it kinetic. He has to get that choke, just a little bit choke you a little bit, then push you back to just make sure he can go on to the next opponent. The only thing I don't agree with entirely would be the Furious Throw ability, which is basically Maul's saber throw, but he does it vertically instead of horizontally. Now, I would think, just to do more damage, I think Maul would, if he did employ a saber throw, he would throw it horizontally. But I do get from a balancing standpoint that they want to keep it vertical so that it's more targeted and not so broken that, Maul can just, be completely overpowered like he already is. But overall, I think they got the style of Maul very, very right. Like, they got the agility, they got the speed that he employs, the ferocity. Like, when you're playing as Maul, you have to kind of like a thermal detonator or like a barrage, like the barrage from the first game, and that's also in the second game. You just go in there and you're basically a physical bomb that just goes through and just obliterates that room and then hops back out. Like that's the mentality that you have as Maul, and I think it works very well both from the lore perspective and also from a gameplay mechanic perspective. Alright, so let's move on to Rey and her in-game abilities. Of course, her main ability would be the Mind Trick ability, as we saw from The Force Awakens. She has a natural inclination for the ability, even without formal training, as far as we know. The cool thing about how her ability works within the game is that when she uses it, the player's controls basically go in reverse, and they are kind of wonky. So if you try to go forward, you'll go back. If you try to go side to side, you'll go right or left, the opposing way. So that's cool, but I thought it'd be even better if it kind of worked like it does in The Force Unleashed, where the player actually turns against their own and shoots their own. So maybe, for instance, they could have the Mind Trick ability, but have maybe the AI take over for however long that Mind Trick lasts. And then while that's going on, you have an AI-controlled droid that's just shooting his own people, and then you just blast apart at the end of it or something like that. I don't know. I think it'd be cooler if it was just that rather than just the reverse controls, because I think that can be played against because people will know, oh, there's Rey. I gotta be ready to, reverse my controls. The next ability for Rey is called Insight, which means she can basically see the people around in her vicinity, even if there's a wall between her and her opponent. We actually saw this kind of ability with Greedo in the first EA Battlefront, where he could see through walls and see where people were at. Definitely makes more sense for a Jedi Force-sensitive character than a bounty hunter. Also, in terms of game balancing or how heroes and villains typically work out, Rey plays out more like a defensive player, like with this ability to see. It's more of a tactical ability rather than like being an offensive juggernaut the way Darth Maul is, or how Vader is, or some of the other villains that we've had in the past games. So they're still kind of playing that up a little bit, where Rey is definitely more of a defensive next to Darth Maul. She's not exactly gonna go through a room, like I said before, and just like become a barrage. And she's more tactical in the way she has to fight, or more simplistic, I would say. Which brings me to the next ability, which is called the Dash Strike ability, which essentially is just basically what she did against Kylo Ren, where she takes her saber and just runs right at you. Now, right now, the way the ability works in the game, it's underpowered for sure. Like, she's really slow when she does it. I mean, apparently you can go through shields when you do it, but it doesn't seem like it's all that effective. It seems less effective than even Han Solo's shoulder dash from the first EA Battlefront. I would think it'd be a little bit more like that, where she, has a really fast dash, kind of in the same way Luke Skywalker has his really fast dash, but instead of it being like a fast-paced, agility-based kind of a thing, it can be her grounded. But what I like most about this ability, and all of what Rey has represented in the gameplay so far, is that she's a novice. Like, everything she does is very simplistic. It's very much someone who doesn't really know what she's doing with the lightsaber. Even her moves, especially right next to Darth Maul, look extremely basic. Her opening stance is a very normal, stilted thing. When she's deflecting blaster bolts, she looks a lot like Luke Skywalker in A New Hope. When she's attacking, her blade work looks very straightforward. It reminds me a lot of the blade sequences of Shi-Cho, the first lightsaber form of lightsaber combat. She's not doing anything super intricate. And I actually like all of that, especially from an in-lore perspective. Of course, this will likely change. Right now in the gameplay, it seems like Maul is definitely way better than Rey, like substantially better than Rey. So I'm sure they're going to update it so that she can be a little bit better in terms of game balancing. But in terms of in-lore balancing, I think it actually works how it is right now in the pre-alpha build, that Rey should be kind of the way she's playing right now in this pre-alpha footage. But I hope that when she does get her eventual boost, they still give us the idea that she is still a novice, which I think they are doing pretty well right now. But like when they do eventually, try to balance her out a little bit better with Maul and with the other heroes, she will still remain kind of like, okay, we still get that she's still new to this thing. But those are my thoughts on the hero designs behind Darth Maul and Rey in the new game. What did you guys think of the gameplay footage? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, peace, love, and may the Force be with you. Always.